You're tuned to The Drive on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. Steelers Nation Radio.
Good afternoon, Steelers Nation. It's The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. Wes Uhler and Matt Williamson with you on a Friday as we are charged up and ready for Week 3 across the National Football League here as we will get you ready for Steelers Patriots Sunday, 1 o'clock, Foxborough at Gillette Stadium as the Steelers and the Pats will do battle. And Matt, you and I, touched on this a little bit yesterday, but there is no such thing as a must-win game in September. Okay,
True.
You're
still in the hunt.
If you beat the Patriots by 30, that doesn't guarantee you a playoff spot.
No.
If you go and you lose, you're not eliminated, and the sky is not falling, and the season is not over.
You could rattle off 14 straight after that. It's possible.
You certainly could. You could also win. You could win big and then lose 3 in a row, and then all of a sudden the win doesn't feel as important. But
I think there's a but coming.
There's,
and I agree. Yep.
Here comes the but.
Yep.
After the way they performed in Week 1, where there was certainly some positives, and you get out of the stadium with a win in Week 1, that's what matters. And then how they performed in Week 2 at home in the home opener against Seattle. This feels like a early season type crossroad game for the Steelers.
I like the word crossroad there. Yeah, like you could see things getting pretty bad after a loss. Or, okay, they handled a not-so-great team, were the better team, controlled the action, and the Jets, they won, but they never controlled the action. I don't think they were the better team down after down after down. It wasn't like the whole stadium knew you were handing it to Jerome Bettis and they just couldn't stop it. And Casey Hampton's owning the line of scrimmage. It was, man, we need some bounces, we need to play. Boz has to hit a 60, and okay, we got out of here with a win. Whew, And I'm with Labs from yesterday. I don't care how you do it. I mean, especially early in the year, just get the win. But I'm also on the other side of the fence too, where I would like to see them control the action here. Better on both lines of scrimmage.
Through 120 minutes of football, which isn't a massive sample size, but it's also not nothing.
Yeah.
They haven't had too many of those moments where it felt like they're clearly the better team out on the football field right now.
Yeah. Last night, Miami played their best game. They showed signs of life. But I never feared that the Bills were going to lose.
Right.
It was like, that's nice. You guys are playing better, but we're still going to beat you.
They took the Dolphins' best punch and still won by double digits.
Yeah, we're still going to handle you. We're a better team, and we're at home and we're good.
And I would like to see something like that on Sunday. I know it's a different task on the road.
Sure.
And it's a different task with the banged-up defense that the Steelers have, but I still think there's some possibilities there. I was just talking with our buddy Chad Tyson of DVE out in the hallway a few minutes ago, and he was asking me about Arthur Smith and Arthur Smith's comments this week about how the Steelers need to be better on weighty downs, right, in those weighty moments. The big play that could have been to Pat Freiermuth down the sideline. The
interception in the end zone.
The confusion with Calvin Austin in the end zone. And I agree with that. The weighty plays, the weighty downs went the Steelers' way Week 1 against the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
The long field goals, the momentum flipping special teams moment. They did not go the Steelers' way against the Seahawks Week 2. But I think everything comes back to what we've been talking about a lot these 2 weeks, is that those weighty moments feel a lot heavier. They feel a lot weightier when you're losing at the line of scrimmage like the Steelers have been.
That's
your margin for error is so thin.
Yeah, I mean, there's a great saying in the NFL, good O-lines travel. And it just raises your floor of every offense, and it's true on both sides of the ball. If you're getting beat by a good O-line, well, it's a long day and you got to manufacture things. Your fastball doesn't work. I got to hit the corners with curveballs and not my best pitch. You know what I mean? It's just harder to play. You got to win left-handed in a way. Now, this is semi-unrelated, but that was Arthur Smith talking about the weighty downs. I would argue that the defense has been worse on weighty downs than the offense. Rodgers has made some plays on third and, in the red zone, threw 4 touchdowns the first week. Where
DK
the defense,
made some plays. Calvin Austin made some plays.
Where the defense, especially this past week, I know the third down conversion rate didn't look horrendous, But there seemed like a lot. I mean, it just felt like a lot of
Back-breaking
third
moments.
and longs. You let Kenneth Walker loose, or there's Smith and Jigba with a blown coverage, or no one around them, or Cup. It's like, come on, get off the field.
That's key. You are absolutely correct. There for the defense, some of the underlying numbers, some of the statistics are not good, right?
Oh, of course, right.
The sack numbers, the tackling that we discussed or lack thereof, missed tackles that we talked about yesterday.
The other one we've hinted at but haven't brought up enough is the explosive plays allowed.
Explosive play and the
really
differential
high.
that you consider with that with the Steelers offense as well, too.
I think explosive plays allowed, they're worst in the league. If not, they're like in the 30s.
And we've seen it in the run game and in the pass game.
Right.
It's been
not
twofold.
just one issue, right.
Exactly right.
But
But
they're
again,
not 80-yarders, but they still count. They're big chunks.
a
And a lot on third downs.
A lot of that gets back to winning in the trenches, winning
No
up
doubt.
front. Like it is so much easier for a defense on second and short, on second and distance, on third and medium, as opposed to you're giving up 6, 7, 8 yards on first down on the ground, and then everything is at the disposal of the quarterback and the offensive coordinator.
Right.
This defense needs to be in more 2nd and 9 situations. Okay, they're going to pass here. 3rd and 9 situations. Okay, they're going to pass here. Not 2nd and 4 where you're unsure where they're going to go. Not 3rd and 2 where you're unsure where they're going to go. That, I think, would go a long way for this defense as well, too. They haven't truly been able to win enough on first down to be able to get aggressive and to do some of the things that they want to do on 2nd and 3rd downs.
It's the departed. I don't want to be a product of my environment. I want my environment to be a product of me.
Did you get good grades? Did you get good grades in school? We call that a paradox.
And if you're good at the line of scrimmage, your environment becomes a product of you. You know what I mean?
Said.
You know what I mean?
TV, cut this up for the social medias later. That is a great
My
example.
Nicholson impersonation needs a little work. You're more the impersonator
Got
type.
this
but
rat, this gnawing rat. And
some guys you can hit and some guys you can't. he's sort of, I forget how he says it. Something like, he's close to one you can't hit, but he's not quite,
Who am I? I'm the guy who's doing his job. Where were we? Talking about The Departed and then a product of our environment. Yeah, that to me is, and again, I think you said it so well earlier in the week. You go to a doctor and this hurts and that aches.
Yeah, I
and
got
not
this
feeling
rash
good
and-
here.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It's like, okay, those are your symptoms. What's the diagnosis? What's causing this? So many of the weightier moments on offense feel a lot heavier. The weightier moments on defense feel a lot weightier when you're losing at the line of scrimmage like they have been. The communication issues on defense.
Everything's magnified.
Everything is magnified when you're
Right.
losing like they're losing in the trenches.
Yep.
And this is a good this is one of those two. If you could start to get that moving in the right direction against these guys, I'm going to like your chances going forward against most of your other opposition.
And there's big dogs on the schedule ahead.
There's some big dogs on the schedule ahead, but the Patriots are another team that is solid in the trenches, particularly on the defensive side of the football, where this is one of those you start getting moving in the right direction today, and I think that bodes well certainly going forward. Or you start moving in the right direction Sunday, that bodes well going forward.
1,000%. To me, that's almost what this week is most about, is winning with your big people, dictating the flow of the game to your opponent as opposed to the other way around, not making mental mistakes and communication issues on defense. And I don't want to hear in the coordinator roundup this upcoming week, well, we practiced it, but we didn't do it right and blah, 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 blah. Well, show me the baby, A sort of positive, though, definitely positive, is Aaron Rodgers' environment has not been great, and he's done a lot despite that. I mean, I think that what would the quarterback look like I keep going to this, like, protection's not great, running game's bad, receivers getting open, I would say, is not great, not bad. Well, what is good for him then? For a quarterback, if all those things are below the line and the running game's way below the line, what are we doing for our quarterback? And he's still moving the ball. It's still better than it's been.
You're asking him to make chicken salad out of chicken bleep.
Yeah,
you know,
and they're still putting up points.
He's making it edible on,
right.
the plate. But you're right. What if you gave him some better ingredients? What if you gave him some better cooking utensils? And I think that certainly is, again, one of those ripple effects of
massively
the way that they've been losing in the trenches. And
he's new around here, too. It's not like, I've been doing it. It's not like Mahomes right now. Mahomes doesn't have any weapons right now. But I got Kelsey. I know he's not what he used to be. Creed Humphrey's my center. I got my coach we've won Super Bowls with. I got you guys. We'll at least keep it close, you know. But, I mean, Rodgers is new around here.
Yeah, and Mahomes just turned 30 this week.
Well, yeah,
Rodgers is going to be 42 by the time Santa Claus slides down the chimney here in a couple months. Matt, some news out of Patriots practice via Mike Rice. He is the Reese, pardon me. Sorry.
He's actually kind of a famous beat writer. He's one that's been doing really, really good reputation.
It's such a good reputation that I butchered his last name. I guess it's all that cooking and talk that we just had there. Mike Reese saying that Christian Gonzalez, Keon White, and Jack Westover are questionable for Sunday's game. That from practice today.
Okay. So no real definitive answers.
No real definitive answers. Looks like Christian Gonzalez was limited in practice today. They are going to keep the light on for him, much like Red Roof Inn. But that's kind of the latest, or at least what we have right now out of Patriots practice this afternoon.
White and Gonzalez are big ones. Westoff or whatever is pretty inconsequential.
Yeah, the tight end Jack Westover. But Christian Gonzalez and Keon White both questionable for Sunday's contest.
Okay. And I guess that's game time type stuff. Right?
Game time type stuff, and those could be potential big absences that you hope. Yeah. If that is the case, the Steelers are able to take advantage.
We've hinted at this throughout the week, but I saw the numbers since we got together. The explosive downfield passing that they're allowing is really, really terrible. I mean, they've become such a pass funnel, but it's become like an explosive pass funnel too, where people are taking deep shots. And the Steelers have not done that. You know, like if you see in the stat packet, like Metcalf's average target area is a fraction of what it's been in his career. He's a Pickens downfield guy. I think you got to take some shots. I'd be like, well, you can't protect for it. Well, keep extra people in or whatever.
Yeah.
You got to test them well down the field because you got speed at receiver.
You sure do. That is one thing you definitely have at receiver. There's
no question.
Certainly unknown in that group still, but that is one box that they definitely check.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you're right. Some vertical passing attack to open things up. Like, could this even be a throw to set up the run type week for the Steelers?
Maybe. I mean, I definitely think you're crazy if you don't take shots down the field.
Like early on, test them and see how they defend it and what it looks like.
Question.
And
teams are having big success of doing it. And as great as Rodgers played, and again, this isn't even a negative, he didn't throw one ball over 20 yards.
Week one against the Jets.
Week one. And there wasn't a lot last week.
And I was going to say maybe only 2 last week.
Maybe, right in that neighborhood.
The one to Freiermuth.
Yeah.
And then maybe
but if you
one
look
or
at
two
his
others.
whole passing chart, there's only like 2 or 3 shots past 20 yards past the line of scrimmage this year.
And you think that's primarily a function of not trusting the protection in front of him? The Steelers not trusting the protection? Like, we got our 41-year-old quarterback's been sacked 7 times already.
Mm-hmm.
We can't have him standing back there for 3.5 seconds.
There's also a high percentage at or behind the line of scrimmage, which I think has just been an extension of the run game. We're not running the ball, but we need completions to keep the clock moving. And, I don't think it's because Rodgers won't take a hit or stand in there. I don't think that. That was one of my worries when they signed him, to be honest with you. But I have not seen any signs of him. Oh no, I got to get the ball out of here. Chuck it away. And I don't think that's it. Seattle's pass rush was nasty.
Seattle's got a very underrated pass rush, without a doubt. Patriots is pretty good. It ain't Seattle's, but it's good. It's formidable. That's for sure.
Lead the league in sacks.
Matt, Steelers 1.5 favorites at Gillette Stadium.
Okay.
Place they haven't won since 2008. That was...
Yeah, I was going to ask Missy about some memories, is there any good ones?
We'll talk to Missy Matthews about 5 minutes from now, and I'm sure she will certainly have some House of Horror stories there.
Not, right.
People talk about how the Patriots fans, Cam Hayward talked about this week. They are notorious for finding the team hotel and pulling the fire alarms at 3 in the morning. Which,
lovely.
They're going to be waking me up, Matt. They can't be doing that to me. Come on, those selfish jerks.
Maybe you should be on watch.
Maybe, you know what?
Yeah.
That's not a bad idea. Give me a paintball gun and just let me sit there, and I'll just black and gold paintballs. I'll just light up anybody who's looking suspect walking into the hotel at 3 a.m. Steelers are 1.5 favorites, 44.5 over and under in this game, which is about league average for this Sunday. So not one of the
Steelers have gone well over both weeks.
They've
right?
gone well, and they've been like the
over.
lowest game. I think both of those weeks, and they're about right in the middle of the pack this week. In what will be for the Steelers a real road test. It's not the gauntlet. I think this is a same church, different pew conversation, Matt, that we had last week about the Seattle Seahawks and their ability to win 1 o'clock games on the East Coast at a much higher rate than West Coast teams traditionally are able to.
Yeah.
It was easy to say for a long time. Well, that's because they have Pete Carroll, Hall of Fame coach. They got Russell Wilson, Super Bowl champion, Hall of Fame type credential quarterback. But they continued to do that last year without those guys. They continued to start doing that this year.
And they had 1 loss on the road last year. Right.
Like, there can be some of that for the Patriots, too. That, yes, most of those house of horrors, have been with a Hall of Fame head coach, Bill Belichick, and the greatest of all time, Tom Brady. But you know what? Sometimes that fairy dust lingers a little bit longer. Mm-hmm. This feels like the right Sunday to kind of kick in the door and get that narrative moving in the other direction.
I think they pretty much need to.
I am with you. They need to for a lot of different reasons. I think for their own positioning, for the sanity of this fan base as well too.
Yeah.
And just a lot of new guys who I think it's easy to say after week 1, hey, that wasn't perfect. You got out of there with a win. You like to be able
week 1, bunch of new pieces, blah, blah, blah.
You love to be able to make corrections despite a win.
Mm-hmm.
That's easy to say week 1. We got out of here with hey, we're feeling good. We got out of there with a win, but we're going to drill into these guys what they need to do better.
Yeah.
Week 3, that flips very quickly.
People don't want to hear that stuff anymore.
People don't want to hear that stuff anymore.
You got a bunch of D-backs that didn't play back.
People don't want to, week 1, week 2, okay. Week 3, those excuses start wearing thin. And it's, again, I don't want to hear about the labor. Show me the baby.
Yeah.
It's baby delivering time.
Yeah, right. This is a very results-given business. And if the results aren't good against 3 below-average teams, or maybe Seattle's average or slightly above.
3 teams who weren't in the playoffs last year.
That's certainly true. Or, not contenders. It'd be different if we go to the Eagles and Kansas City and Buffalo to open
the Packers early on in the season here or something like that.
I wonder, and I don't think there's a right answer, but because of all the excitement about Ireland, if things don't go well, is it a good time to
get away,
get on a bird and get out of here? You know what I mean?
Maybe.
Just get it. Who knows?
I think either way you could make that argument of if things don't go well, hey, you're getting out of Dodge. You got an opportunity to kind of build your walls up and fortify and just take care of business.
And I'm thinking kind of from a fan base perspective too. Like, will the fans just be like, I'm down on the team, but I'm going to just go have fun and drink Guinness.
I'm going to drink some Guinness, lad.
Exactly,
here we go. Maybe, but I think it can work the other way. If you get a victory, great.
Now it's fun.
And then you get to go on the road and spend extra time together and in a different country and do all that bonding stuff and really enjoy and soak in the experience.
I just wonder from a human standpoint, the fact that they're doing something weird next week, how does that affect things, Well,
I'll tell you this much. I know Max Starks is getting on a plane Sunday night in Boston to fly over to Dublin.
Yeah.
Straight from the game to Boston Logan Airport to get on a flight to Dublin.
Okay.
So I'm sure Max Starks is hoping that it's a win and he can get some sleep on that plane and not be miserable. I know him and Reagan are both doing that. Have you seen what Max is doing next week?
No.
He's like essentially with like the Irish Tourism Board. They like rented a van and Max is going around the country day by day to all the different cities, all the different hot spots, because I don't know if many people know this.
And they're like videoing it all?
Yes. It's going to be amazing content. He's going to be handing out terrible towels and going to Parliament and going to all these.
This isn't his personal vacation.
No. Well, I mean, kind of. But
it doesn't sound so bad.
He's working out of it too. But they're going to have Big Max in like a little van driving through Ireland, seeing all the historic spots, throwing out terrible towels, talking to people,
Very
all
cool.
all that good stuff.
And he'll be there well before us.
He will be there well before us. So yeah, certainly. Listen, this is one you want to put a win in the bank. You want to get your record back to above 500. and then be able to fully enjoy all that
As I
stuff
said,
next week.
The fact that's going to be a weird week no matter what.
100%, 100%. But it's always easier to navigate those things coming off of a victory, obviously, Captain Obvious, than off of a defeat. We have got to get to break. When we get back on the other side, we will talk to Missy Matthews about some of those ghosts of New England past and what she thinks the keys are to the Steelers getting it done this Sunday in Foxborough. Double M, Missy Matthews on the other side. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson. It's The Drive on Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. When you hear the bounce, you know what that means. It's time to talk to the queen of the sideline, Missy Matthews, joining us now. She's kind enough to do every single Friday. Missy, before we get into some game specifics here, Matt and I were kind of reminiscing, I guess, if you will, on the House of Horrors, maybe you could call it, that Gillette Stadium in Foxborough has been for the Steelers. They, of course, have not won there since 2008. Aaron Rodgers, only a small sample size, only 2 games, but he has never won there in his career either. When you think of Foxborough Stadium and walking those sidelines, what are some of the memories and thoughts that come to mind?
Not good ones.
I didn't think so.
I wasn't there for that last loss or for that last win. Obviously, Tom Brady didn't even play in that game, but I definitely remember the AFC Championship game. Just the excitement going in, thinking, holy crap, like, are we going to be going to Houston for the Super Bowl? And then just the way that game unfolded, I remember what part of the sideline I was standing on when Le'Veon Bell came out, and you knew that it was not good. So unfortunately, not great ones.
Yeah, I can imagine. And Missy, yesterday, Rob King and the two of us did a video previewing the game. We do those every week now. And at least once, you really stressed that you've been hearing all week communication about the Steelers' defense, particularly the back end. And I've thrown this out all week, and Wes and I have talked about it. I mean, every one of the defensive backs in that game were not Steelers last week. But did you notice during the game on Sunday a lot of palms in the air, or defensive backs yelling at each other, or, hey, I thought you were going to help? Or could you tell the communication was a problem during the game?
I wouldn't say it was necessarily from like an animated, screaming at each other type thing on the sideline. But I think even, Juan Thornhill talked about the touchdown, the one that everyone is comparing, it happened against the Jets, it happened against the Seahawks. Like, he's like, we knew what to do. I didn't do a good enough job communicating and kind of leaving Slay and Ramsey out there to do something impossible. And I do think, obviously, I will say defensive coordinator Terrell Austin was very animated, huddled the guys up a few times, like the entire defense, to try to get them back on track for that home opening loss. But I think it was more or less guys just really trying to over-communicate when they were on the sidelines, looking at, the plays broken down on the surface and doing different things like that to try to get them back on track. So hopefully that was a priority, as I assume it is based on what Coach Tomlin said Tuesday. Then you hear from the players, you can kind of see the trickle down of the messaging, that not only was it working in the classroom, but out on the practice fields before they head to Gillette tomorrow.
Missy, I guess certainly compounding that communication issue is the amount of absences that the Steelers defense has had a lot of attrition here early on in the season. I think it's obviously safe to assume we're not going to see Deshaun Elliott and Alex Highsmith this weekend. I don't even think we have to assume that. We know that. How are we feeling about Joey Porter Jr.? Doesn't sound great for him. How are we feeling about potentially seeing the debut of the rookie Derek Harmon, who's been limited early on in the week in practice?
Yeah, I mean, for Joey to not practice Wednesday or Thursday, it's a hamstring injury. I know they're all different grades and different whatever, but Nick Herbig missed, a decent amount of time when he suffered that hamstring injury in week 2 of the preseason. We just saw him come back last week. I get the feeling it's going to be another week without Joey, but I'm cautiously optimistic that maybe we see Derek Harmon in some form or fashion, depending on what the status report says for the Steelers in terms of, game preparation. I don't think you're going to see a lot of him if he does get the green light. I think he is chomping at the bit for sure to get out there. And I think, as you said, it's media, fans, everybody wants to see him in a real game. We saw, what he was able to do, losing his mom after getting drafted, coming to a new city, OTAs, mini camp, training camp. We saw some of that progression that you want to see from a guy taken in that spot. So now it's like, what can you do in a real game? And I think at this point, everybody's hoping he can do something big, because that front and, being able to stop the run, that is something that hopefully he will be helping with.
That's certainly exciting, and hopefully we do get just a glimpse of him here and then full-time maybe when we're overseas. Missy, I'm sure I asked you this last week. I might ask you it every week. But Aaron Rodgers, tell me about Aaron Rodgers on game day.
He was the exact same as he was in New York, as he was in Pittsburgh. I was very curious to see what it was like for him. Obviously, watching him run out of the tunnel when he was announced, Larry Richard with his great booming voice, your quarterback, you're so used to hearing from Miami of Ohio for Ben. And, for Aaron, it was definitely, it was very loud in terms of the fans. I think everybody, gets up a little extra for a home opener, of course. It was a beautiful day in Pittsburgh, and he did not let it get too much to him, you could tell. He just kind of ran out. He did the Ben thing where you kind of run a little earlier than you're probably supposed to, but that's okay. And I just think that he was, I think the interception definitely where Calvin Austin deflected the ball away from Pat, you could definitely see the that would have been, we needed that type deal. And I think, he's even killed though about his frustrations or what he wants to see changing. And I think that's what this young offensive unit needs out of their quarterback right now to try to get it back together so they can make it into the red zone. And when they are in the red zone, they are able to score touchdowns. So hopefully, you see both units take a few steps forward instead of steps back this week.
Missy, I guess then maybe same church, different pew. The communication issues, some of the frustration with the secondary. We know a lot of new faces, and I think in particular, two of those guys, Jalen Ramsey and Darius Slay, a ton of pride, a ton of success. Those guys have all pros. They have Pro Bowls. They have Super Bowl rings between them. Mm-hmm. What was kind of their demeanor like on the sideline this past Sunday when obviously things weren't going the way they wanted it to be?
Definitely, you could sense the frustration. And I think, it's so hard without Deshaun Elliott. I'm not saying that he is like the key to that defense, but he has been in this defense. He is very loud. He is a good communicator. And then, oh, by the way, Jalen Ramsey is thinking, all right, I'm going to move around a lot in this defense. We're going to do different things. And then Joey Porter's not able to play. So obviously you knew he was going to play more outside than trying to move him around due to the numbers. I think Slay said it perfectly this week in the locker room to the media. He's like, guys, look, I literally did this last year. I was with the Eagles. We did not play well our first 4 games. Everybody was hating on us. Things weren't going well. We got it together. Look at where we ended at the end of the season. So I think that perspective, that is one of the many reasons why they brought Darius Slay in, because he is that veteran presence of a been there, done that guy. As you said, you can, read his resume and see why people would want to listen to him. And I think he is also very open in the fact that he wants to be that old guy who is helping the young guys. It's not like, let's keep all this knowledge to myself. Let's share it and teach that next quote unquote generation of defensive backs.
Last thing I got for you, Missy, is Caleb Johnson's ridiculous gaffe on the kickoff, obviously. Mm-hmm. How was the sideline responding during and when he came off the field?
I will say as soon as that happened, I went to look for Danny Smith. I will say it was not like he went up to this kid and berated him and tore him down. And I think based on more or less people trying to almost just like pat him on the back, let him know that, they're still his teammates during the game. And then as Coach Tomlin was saying during his Tuesday press conference, it wasn't, yes, he made a huge mistake that was very game-changing. There's no doubt. But everybody makes mistakes, and it's how do you respond to it? And I think Coach kind of put that out there in a loving way of like, if you can prove to us physically, emotionally, whatever, that you can rebound from this, then cool. Well, you're good. But I think it will also depend, are you hanging your head? Are you, blaming other people? I'm not saying he's doing any of these, but I think that, if it's like, well, no one reminded me of the rule or something like that, that would not go over well. And I don't think Coach Tomlin his demeanor would have been very different on Tuesday. So I'm sure there have been a lot of hard conversations. And hopefully, I don't think we're going to see him back there this week. I don't know how many weeks we might not see him back there. I think that really will be telling to see how they handle this and who they have go back there. But maybe you see him a little bit here and there on offense just to keep him engaged, keep him in the game. So that is definitely an interesting one to pay attention to.
Excited to see how he responds. Excited to see how the whole team responds this Sunday in Foxborough. The great Missy Matthews, of course, you can hear her on the call with Rob King and Max Starks on your flagship home of the Black and Gold, WDVE, also on the Steelers Audio Network. Missy, great stuff. Thank you for the time as always, and we'll see you this weekend.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys.
There she goes, Melissa Matthews, double M, the super genius. Has great stuff, great perspective from her, as always. I like you continuing to ask about Aaron Rodgers every week. Maybe
I might just do it every week.
Maybe, and I'll follow it up with Jalen Ramsey every week. And we'll get some good sideline stories out of Missy. But great perspective from her, as always. When we come back on the other side, Matt, what do you say we get into a little 5-Star Friday? We'll start talking some matchups.
Love it.
Between the Steelers and the Patriots when we return. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson. It's The Drive on Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network.
It's a 5-star matchup because we're in.
5-star matchup! Everybody we play is a 5-star matchup because we in it!
Here we go. Steelers, Patriots, all eyes on Sunday in Foxborough, a pair of 1-1 teams who are certainly going to feel some type of way depending on how the results go. Matt, I want to jump right into it for you, or with you, I should say. 5-Star Friday here. We'll talk about the Steelers' offense against the Patriots' defense, and then vice versa. But let's start there. Let's start with the Steelers' offense. What are the biggest matchups for the Steelers' offense that are going to determine the winner, the outcome of Sunday's game?
Now, I think we said this earlier in the week. I view this game at least less so than most games of player X versus player Y, the left tackle versus this guy.
TJ Watt against the left tackle.
What are they going to do with Myles Garrett? Myles Garrett versus Dan Moore or whatever. And more about do what you do well. That's big things. They need to run the ball better. They need to protect Rodgers better.
Sure.
Things like that, as opposed to real matchup-centric. Now, talking about, going back half an hour, If Gonzalez plays, I think that's a really big deal for a couple reasons. Because first off, I think he's pretty much Sauce's equal in terms of just man coverage.
You think he's one of the best 3, 4, 5 corners in the National Football League.
And ascending. Although he hasn't played this year, so maybe get a little rust, blah, blah, blah. But upon last viewing, aren't many corners I take ahead of him. There's just no doubt in my mind. And he's got the length that DK, it's not like he's a little guy against him either. So I would imagine he would follow or spend a lot of time on Metcalf if he's healthy for this game. And then their second corner, Davis, is fine. He's a quality starter. They gave him good money, blah, blah, blah. But if Gonzalez is out, the other guys they've been playing to this point are so exploitable. So if all of a sudden you're from a Patriots perspective, you go from, okay, our number one corner has at least a little advantage maybe over their number one receiver, and we know the Steelers' receiver core is not loaded, and we're putting our worst guys that we've been having to play on the bench where they belong in spot duty. Well, that's a lot different than what they've been playing with the first 2 weeks.
Certainly is, and there's maybe even some, like Jets-type vibes with that.
A lot.
Where, you could have a situation.
It'd be like if Sauce wasn't in there.
That's what I'm going to say.
Yeah,
we saw how that they were able to exploit any wide receiver who wasn't covered by Sauce Gardner.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it was DK, sometimes it was Calvin Austin. Now it could be that, but like exacerbated a little bit if Gonzalez is out, or as you mentioned, we at least know he's not 100% healthy. And this is his first in-stadium action of the year.
It might not be predetermined to not go his way. We'll see.
Sure. Sure. But that feels like an area where they have to make some hay. I
would think.
You and I, we're
talking downfield, as mentioned.
We're talking about a Steelers win. I think there's a good chance we're in here on Monday and we're talking about how the wide receivers had a good game, how they clearly won their matchups against the Steelers secondary. Steelers lose, I think we're in here talking about, again,
they
didn't make plays. They didn't make plays on the waiting downs.
Right.
They didn't stretch the field. That led to Aaron Rodgers getting sacked 2 or 3 or 4 times.
Yeah. I could see Monday if there's a win. Good, nice game by Austin. Got a little more out of Roman Wilson than you expected. Or a loss going, they have to trade for number 2 receiver. Why didn't they trade for number 2 receiver? Right. I also think their linebackers, led by Robert Spillane.
That's where I wanted to go next, against these Steelers tight ends.
Yeah, I think we need more from the tight. You mentioned this yesterday. I want more from the tight end room overall. That should be the foundation of your offense to some degree. And their linebackers and safeties are just a bunch of guys. I know people are excited about Spillane, but not in coverage.
This is the week to get Pat Freiermuth going. I know it didn't work out last week. Fine. Take another deep shot to Muth at some point in this game.
I'm fine with that.
Get Jonnu involved. I wouldn't hate seeing 5, 6, 7, 8 targets Jonnu's way as well, too. What that means for Darnell Washington when you can get him in there. I think, again, when we spend so much time, the listeners know this, we spend so much time throughout the offseason envisioning what the offense should look like, envisioning what the defense should look like. Aaron Rodgers has checked those boxes for us for the first 2 games, but I don't think really maybe Jalen Warren did to an extent this past Sunday as well.
I'll say those two could hold their head pretty high.
The turn an 8-yard gain into a 40, 50, 60-yard gain like we know Jalen Warren can. Other than that, though, I want to start seeing everybody else making the plays that we discussed and we know they're capable of making all throughout this offseason.
Yep, 100% agree. Do you have any more on offense? I got a couple little things I want to touch on.
Yeah, let's wrap with the Steelers offense here. We'll take a break and spin the block on the other side.
Let's see 2 solid games by Broderick Jones back to back. I don't need a roller coaster. You know what I mean? I don't need a roller coaster. At that position,
Let's not talk about him on Monday.
Yeah,
what I mean?
Right. We didn't talk about him last Monday. Great. That was a positive, too. You mentioned Warren. I'm not sure Johnson's even going to get a hat for this game, 100%. Missy mentioned, if he's on kick returns and you only give him 2 or 3 carries, how much do we even need you on this game?
Maybe Trey Sermon gets a hat.
Yeah, I don't know who the other kickoff returner is going to be, but I know it's not going to be him. I think it could be a real heavy Warren touching the ball game. Gainwell's fine, but he's a 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Situational. It's very situational, satellite. And if there's not a third guy of note, I think Warren maybe gets the biggest workload of his career.
I think that's a good shout by you. And, you say this a lot that, from a fantasy football perspective, running back is a week-to-week, proposition.
Right, sure.
I don't care about how good I think a running back could be for me in week 6 of the fantasy football season. What can you do for me this Sunday?
Short term, yeah.
I think that's kind of how the Steelers need to approach this with their running back situation.
I do too.
Forget the long-term picture at this point.
The day you selected him in the 3rd round, you had this vision in your mind. Now it's just
put that vision on hold for 60 minutes on Sunday.
Set it over there, right?
And let Jalen Warren work.
Yep. And if he gets hurt, people will call you an idiot, but he got hurt anyways. You know what I mean? Nobody stays healthy at that position for a long stretch.
Or if he has 100 yards rushing and 50 yards out of the backfield, and it works.
And you have a legit run game and a threat there. Because I do think he's been one of their best offensive players since he put that first black and gold helmet on.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And I think he certainly has been this season as well, too.
Yeah.
Albeit in a smaller sample size. But let's make that a large sample size Sunday in Foxborough. Matt, 1 hour in the books, 2nd hour to go. Hour number 2, we will spin the block here and focus on the matchups from a Steelers defensive perspective against this Patriots offense. We'll also go around the league, give you all of our thoughts on this slate of Week 3 games across the NFL, and some final predictions and picks for Steelers Patriots as well. All of that in hour number 2 and more. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson. It's The Drive on Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Good evening, Steeler Nation. It is the final hour of The Drive this week before all eyes turn to Sunday in Foxborough. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson with you, and we now get to the back half.
You opened hour 2 with good evening,
yeah,
but not hour 1.
Are you trying
Remember we had the whole evening
Are you trying to wind me up again here, huh?
Because 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock's not evening.
Not evening. I think 5 o'clock
5
is.
counts. Okay. I was going to approve of the move.
Okay. I thought you were just trying to wind me up and get me going again. Because, again,
I think I've noticed that twice this week where the opening of hour 2 has
good
been
evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. And you know what? In the middle of July and August, 5 o'clock doesn't really feel like the evening.
Right. But in the dog days of Steelers season, it will.
And a couple weeks here when it starts getting dark at 5 o'clock as well, too.
Yep.
The only thing I don't like about this upcoming time of year is how dark out it gets early. It will certainly feel like evening.
Walking out of the station, it's dark.
Yeah,
like,
it's rough.
Yeah.
But we'll go with good afternoon for the first hour and good evening for the second hour.
I meant to ask Missy this. So the weather here has been so unbelievably good.
Maybe my favorite September weather-wise we've had in my lifetime in Western Pennsylvania.
It's bonkers. Is it supposed to be nice in New England?
It's supposed
I know she's always on top of that stuff.
It's supposed to be not quite as warm, but yes.
Okay.
Like
weather shouldn't be an issue.
I don't think it's going to be 77 degrees like it's been here, but it's going to be like 70 and sunny, I think. 68
We're not
and sunny.
expecting any weird weather, though.
Now, when we land in Dublin Thursday morning, Matt, I hope you bring your rain jacket.
Yeah.
Bring some non-athletic shoes. You know what I mean? Like shoes that aren't going to get super soaked.
Right.
And a good raincoat. That's what I've been told.
Raincoat I wouldn't have thought of. But
good raincoat. And I told you, like, we met Greg and Mick, the Irish guys who were out at St. Vincent out at Latrobe with us. And that was they were like, don't wear your trainers, all right? Don't wear around your Nikes, your trainers, all right? We don't wear those in Dublin because it rains all the time. Your feet will be soaked. So I don't know if it's boots or just like some type of weatherproof shoe.
Can handle it, yeah.
But like our typical, like Nikes made out of mesh that we wear around 90% of the time.
Not going to fly.
We'll be sounding like SpongeBob. Squidward trying to walk around.
I plan on packing a lot.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I'm bringing a bigger suitcase. Because I'm going to have to pack a lot and because I'm going to want to bring home some souvenirs.
That's the thing. I plan on putting stuff in it, too, when I get there.
Might try and sneak a whole pony keg of Guinness into my carry-on the way home. Matt, spinning the block here. Now the Steelers' defense against this Patriot offense. And I got a feeling you're going to want to talk about your guy Drake May here, certainly.
Yeah, and I don't know what the best approach for him is. I mean, I don't think it's just keep him in the pocket and make him throw. No, I don't think that's it at all. But the one thing that I've been harping on that I think they need to do no matter what and has to become more of a staple is vary their coverages, vary their looks on the back end. I mean, last year they were the highest percentage of single high safety in the league.
Okay.
And this year they're higher. And you don't see the late safety rotations. You're not seeing a very real wide variety of coverages that are unorthodox. It's a lot of, playing cover 3 or playing cover 3, and execution based, and it's a little too static for my liking. And with a young quarterback, although he's sharp, I think that exemplifies that. Even make it more so to throw a lot at him because he hasn't played a lot of football at this level,
Absolutely. That makes a ton of sense. And it is one of those weeks I think you wish that you were completely healthy in the secondary with Deshaun Elliott and Joey Porter Jr.
That
so you
might
could
limit things, who knows?
Disguise some stuff.
Can you
and
trust
throw
Peppers and Clark to do those things at this point? I don't know,
But what you can do with the personnel that you have to confuse and just keep Drake May guessing, as you always mention, an extra millisecond of patting the ball
beat,
or one extra read, one extra thought, one extra beat is huge all the time, but especially against a young quarterback who's, still in his first dozen or so starts in the National Football League.
You're not doing this against Rodgers, You're
correct.
A much different spectrum. And
correct.
We mentioned, too, I mean, they have to be at the top of the league at almost sacks, too. And I think, if Darnold could have patted the ball 3 more times, 3 different plays, you might have 3 different sacks,
Let's go there then. Will Campbell, rookie left tackle.
Mm-hmm.
Morgan Moses, veteran right tackle, who's been a little banged up as well, too. He's been on the injury report this week. We've talked about those sack numbers, those pressure numbers for the Steelers. Well, the pressure has been good, but the finish hasn't been there.
Right.
Big week for TJ Watt, for Nick Herbig, for Cam Hayward to finally get home and put some of these guys into the turf.
Yeah, let's talk about their tackles super quick. Moses is an old school veteran, right tackle only.
Big,
reliable.
powerful.
Yeah, reliable, but not real nimble-footed. But he's been around the block. He knows every trick of the trade. But Watt's is noticeably better. Yeah, I mean, Moses is at the end of his line, good career, much better than what they played with at right tackle last year. Probably the veteran in that room. They're Siamalu, you know what I mean? With a young O-line room with a lot of draft picks and new dudes. And I imagine they'll help him as everybody does against Watt. And they play a lot of extra tight end sets, so that I'm sure there'll be a tight end to that side a lot. I understand why people liked Campbell. He was the first offensive lineman drafted. I just didn't quite see him in that light. Like, I liked Membo better, who went later.
I had a feeling you were going to say that.
And in most years, I don't think Campbell is the first tackle off the board. Like, if he comes out a year earlier, he doesn't go ahead of Alt. I'm not even sure he goes ahead of Fatanu. I mean, there's a lot of tackles. And he's good. He's a little short-armed. He's a very good movement player in the run game. They'll get him in space and weaponize him and get him downfield and leading screens and smart. But you can win with power against him. And I'm just thinking this through now for the first time. That's not really Herbig's game, in terms of pass rush. But that doesn't mean I want Liao or Sawyer trying it because they're bigger and more powerful. Herbig's still better pass rusher.
Move TJ around a little bit this week?
Maybe move TJ against them, right. I mean, TJ can win on... TJ usually wins one way, but he can win a lot of ways.
Yes.
Right. And maybe you do move them around a little bit and make Moses deal with Herbig's speed. I mean, because he's the older, heavier-footed guy. Maybe make him deal with the 230-pounder and Watt against the rookie.
I hope that's something we see.
Yeah.
It makes sense as we kind of are discussing it now.
Because I was not critical of them for not moving Watt a lot in the Seattle game. Because the right tackle was the weak link.
Yes.
Leave him in his most comfortable spot against the bad guy. Right.
Mm-hmm. Maybe now you move him against the rookie and
just throw
little chaos.
Rookie, you're not going to avoid
into the equation.
I mean, just think if you're the rookie, at home. I think I'm not sure if it's not their home opener. But either way, it doesn't matter. Yeah, I got a lot on my plate. It's my third NFL start. At least I don't get TJ. Well, maybe you get
and then
TJ.
Here comes TJ.
Right. Yeah, right.
Oh, that would be, I think, a sight for sore eyes, certainly. And then I guess finally, let's talk about these playmakers, these weapons, some familiar names: Ramonche Stevenson, Stephon Diggs, Travion Henderson in there as well too.
Yeah, Hunter Henry's kind of their
Hunter
staple.
Henry at tight end. Mac Hollins, a familiar name at wide receiver too. Not at
They're
wide
really
receiver.
trying to figure out their pecking order at wide out. Like Diggs has been brought along a little slowly, but he's been out there the most. Boutte flashes.
He's the real wide receiver 2, as in the number 2, right? Boutte is. Whereas Mac Hollins is kind of the third guy.
Mac Hollins is a great special teamer. He's like the better Skoranek type guy for them that gets does a lot on teams, physical, come out and block.
He's the goofball who goes barefoot everywhere, isn't he?
Right. He's kind of an oddball special teamer type guy. And he's more involved in the offense than Skoranek. That's what I meant by the better version. I mean, he's more of a
receiver.
More of a receiver. But he's big and he's tough and he blocks. But their receiver room, I think they're trying to figure out. Yeah, I mean, they drafted the Williams kid who hasn't done anything yet, but I like them. I doubt this will be the week that they throw him on the scene. And even the running back room, Stevenson's a good player. But they've been mixing in Henderson with him on the field at the same time. Gibson hasn't gone away either. He's just a height, weight, speed guy, and he's still dangerous, and he's a good returner as well. All in all, it's not a great group of weapons, especially if Diggs ain't what he used to be, which doesn't quite look like the case at the moment for sure.
Not. And that's a pretty high bar to clear. He was at a time one of the best in the league.
Yeah, he's not near that at the moment.
No.
I
don't think he's still very good. I don't think he's a bona fide number 1 anymore.
No. And Henry's just steady. I mean, he's kind of a little bit less reversion than like the Heath Miller. You know what I mean? Like, no one getting from him, moves the chains, and reliable. But it's not a great group of offensive players.
It's not.
It's not.
It's not a group that has a glaring amount of weaknesses, but it's not a group that has
I don't know where the stars come from.
A lot of matchups that are going to keep you up at night and have you worried.
I don't think the defense coordinators, when they face New England, are like, oh, man, what are we going to do with that guy?
Right.
Like next week, we're going to talk about Justin Jefferson a lot.
A whole bunch. And Jordan Addison as well, too.
Right.
And Drake May, I think, could certainly become that guy, but he's not there yet at this stage of his career.
And I think he's elevated subpar cast. That's one of the reasons I like him so much, especially last year, because this is way better than what they played with last year in terms of receivers and O-linemen.
Yes.
And he still managed to do some things as a rookie. So he has shown to get, you give him not so great ingredients, he'll make you a pretty good meal. So what if you give him good ingredients,
Exactly right. So those are some of the matchups, some of the specifics that we'll be watching for here on Sunday, of course, between the Steelers and the Patriots.
One other note on Steeler D.
Yep.
I'm expecting, and I think they even said this, a bump in snap counts for Holcomb. I would think Peppers makes his debut, and I would hope, I don't think this has been brought up, at least to TA or any of the coaches, I'd like to see more Ekwale, too.
I had a feeling that was coming from you.
I mean, if they're going to be running, this is a downhill run between the tackle, mostly physical, not a lot of dancing or not a lot of finesse involved with their run game. Benton hasn't handled that well.
Put Benton in a better position.
Yeah, or mix him in, or just don't play him as much. Keep him fresher, and Ekwale be the nose.
TA had a lot of good things to say about Y.A. Black and continuing to ramp up his workload this week as well, too. So I think we could certainly see more of him as well.
Maybe 10 snaps of Harmon, too. I mean, I'm holding my breath, but Missy seemed add a little optimism to the mix.
I think the pitch count idea for him could be a real one, and that'll certainly be something else that we're looking for on Sunday. But that's it for your 5-Star Friday for this Week 3 edition, Steelers and Patriots. Going to take a break here. When we come back, we'll run the gauntlet, Matt. We'll go through all these Week 3 NFL games, give some thoughts and some picks for each one. We'll do that when we return. Wes Uhler and Matt Williamson. It's The Drive on Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Time to go around the league here. A busy Week 3 across the NFL. I guess it did kick off last night, Matt. We kind of mentioned that. But
yeah.
Buffalo takes down Miami, I think, as everybody expected. Not a bloodbath that we and many hypothesized that it could potentially be, but also comfortable for Buffalo, 31-21 over the Dolphins.
And some signs of life from Miami, finally.
Some signs of life from Miami.
But now they're 0-3.
Maybe too little, too late.
Yeah.
But they did not, roll over and get blown out again. Like I think we thought was certainly possible. Like many thought were certainly possible. Tell you what, Matt, that Vegas 9 times out of 10 they're on the money. It was 10.5 point spread last night. Buffalo wins by 10.
I'm glad I stayed away.
Yeah, me as well. Let's take a look at some of these other games as. Man, once again, I know we've said this the last 2 weeks too, but there's some juicy, intriguing matchups
some real good ones, yeah.
Across this Week 3 slate. Let's get into it. Speaking of teams still looking for their first win, the Cleveland Browns, Matt, we talked about this gauntlet of a schedule that they have to open the season. They are at home against the Green Bay Packers. 7.5 point underdogs is Cleveland.
Yeah, I picked the games earlier on a different format, and I took the Browns kind of reluctantly with the points because I think their D has played quite well. I think it's just real easy to say Packers the best team in the league, these are the worst team in the league, and there's a lot of truth to that. But Green Bay probably won't have Kraft. Reed just got hurt. I bet they run the ball a lot and play good defense, and they might control the game, but 7.5 in Cleveland, I think they're just trying to tease you to take Green Bay, and I'm not going to do it.
I really like your logic there. This is, as I'm double checking here real quick, it's tied for the lowest over under of the week with 2 other games.
That's tough to cover 7.5,
I think Green Bay had such a fever pitch start to the season.
Yeah, right.
You open with the Lions, reigning division champion, kind of been the bully of that division for the last couple of years.
For Parsons, holy smokes.
And you just trade for Parsons, and you beat those guys comfortably. Mm-hmm. And then you host the Commanders. Thursday night football,
Everyone's
always
watching,
a big deal.
Right.
In
your building.
A team that was in your building, a team that was just in the NFC Championship game last year. Two big... highlight them, circle them matchups for the Packers to start the season, and they win both comfortably.
Yeah.
They're feeling good about themselves, I'm sure, rightfully so.
And we'll go to Cleveland, we'll be fine.
And they've had longer to prepare than the Browns, and lick any potential wounds that they had from that Thursday night game. I really do like your logic of Green Bay wins this, but Cleveland keeps it closer than people think. But I'm still going to lay the points with Green Bay.
I 100% get it.
They're
a much better team.
I do really like your logic, and I think Cleveland's defense is good enough to keep it close and make it interesting.
That side of the ball's been fine for them.
But I got to see it to believe it. I'm gonna lean towards the side of Green Bay. You'll take the points. I'll lay the points.
If it was 6, I'd take Green Bay.
No doubt. If it was less than a touchdown, no doubt.
Yeah.
Tennessee at home looking for their first win against the team who cannot be stopped, the offense that just keeps on scoring, the Indianapolis Colts. A divisional clash there, 1 o'clock in Nashville. Indy, 4.5-point favorites on the road.
I think I'm still going with the Colts. That seems like a lot. I mean, if you had told me this before we knew the Colts were 2-0, but Taylor's making big plays. They got a lot of weapons. Jones hasn't hurt them at all and has actually been a benefit. I think Tennessee's kind of all over the place. Plus, that's a really good, diverse defensive coordinator that they hired from Cincinnati for a guy making his third start.
I'm liking how this is playing out because I feel like too often the last 2 weeks we've agreed on the majority of these. I'm going to take the points with the Titans.
I get it.
I still think Indy could win, but by 2 or 3 or really close on a last-second field goal. They have been riding such a high the last 2 weeks.
Yeah. Are they really that good?
I don't think they're really that good. And maybe, listen, these guys are professionals, but maybe they're, thinking their own bleep don't stink a little bit there too for the Colts. Titans, desperate to, not fall to 0-3, still looking for that first victory feeling of the season.
These teams dread 0-3 too.
Dread 0-3.
Yeah,
I mean, that is, like, we talked a little bit last week about the going 0-2. The going 0-3 is like a, your season is 1 foot in the grave already at that point.
This is when coaches are doing fake punts and crazy stuff.
I'm gonna take the plus. If it was Indianapolis 2.5, I'd lay them.
I was a little shocked how big the number was.
Field goal or more, I'm gonna take those points with the Titans. Minnesota at home. The last time they'll be playing a game stateside in September before
they got 2 in a row
before they go on the road here to Ireland and to London for a couple weeks. The Vikings hosting the now Joe Burrow-less Bengals at home, 1 o'clock. This feels like another one of those Vegas is trying to influence you. Vegas is trying to maybe trip you up a little bit. Minnesota only 2.5-point favorites. I know they lost their quarterback.
Backup quarterbacks.
I know it's both backup quarterbacks, but I trust the coaching staff. I trust the roster and the Vikings at home. This is one of those that I would have thought would have been closer to 4.5 than 2.5 for Minnesota.
I said the exact same thing like 2 hours ago. And Wentz has been around the block. I mean, he hasn't been in Minnesota long, but there's a chance he's better than what McCarthy gave them. I mean, I kind of am expecting it. I don't think he's going to look like Ben or anything, but there's a chance. And I'm kind of just betting on awful place to play and Flores. Just causing a lot of problems for a backup quarterback. How about this with Wentz? When he starts this game, he will start 6 years in a row, at least one game for 6 different teams. That's really hard to do.
That's like Ryan Fitzpatrick type Fitzmagic type
right.
statistics.
And I think 2 of them were like week 18s when KC rested Mahomes.
Sure.
I mean, like he wasn't even the starter for all that time, really, since Philly, then Indy. I mean, people have not counted him to be the starter, but he still has started a game 6 years in a row for 6 different teams. That's hard to do.
It is hard to do. It's very hard to do. This one, to me, is one of the easiest decisions of the week. I'll lay the 2.5 with Minnesota.
Okay. Yeah, I feel pretty good about this one, too. I could see Cincy spiraling. I don't think they're a 2-0 team as we speak right now.
And they've lost their captain, their best player, their quarterback, their signal caller. Now they got to go on the road, against a probably ticked off Minnesota team as well too. Not a great spot. Philadelphia hosting the Rams, 1 o'clock in Philly, a little divisional round rematch from last year. Another
Played
one
them strong in the playoffs.
They sure did.
Yeah.
This is another one of those West Coast team coming across the East Coast for a 1 o'clock kickoff. Philadelphia 3.5-point favorites.
If it was under 3, I would take the Eagles. I am definitely taking the 3.5 with a bet on McVay. Stafford's been terrific. The Eagles have a really good corner in Quinyon Mitchell, and DeJean's the slot. But that second corner is a real problem right now, and this is like the worst team in the league to have a second corner
They got
problem.
2 really good wide receivers.
And they pepper them. Nobody throws the receivers like the Rams. And I just haven't seen it from the Eagles passing game yet. They haven't needed it, but I just haven't seen it. They're going to have to do it today,
Another one of these. If this was 2.5 Philadelphia instead of 3.5,
then I'd hesitate.
I think I'd lay the points, but I'm with you. I know that it's a tough ask for those West Coast teams going across the coast for a 1 o'clock kickoff.
Sure.
Philadelphia, very tough place to play, obviously. But I'm with you. I'm going to take the 3.5 with Los Angeles because I think
feels like it should be 2.5.
This feels like it's a field goal game regardless.
Yeah.
So I will take the points. I'll take the plus 3.5 with the Rams. I'm with you on this one. Tampa Bay feeling good, hosting the New York Jets, who aren't feeling so good. Justin Fields-less New York Jets.
Yeah.
As Tampa Bay, that's a 1 o'clock game down there in Tampa. One of the bigger lines of the week, Matt. The Bucs are 6.5-point favorites.
This is a tough one for me because Taylor is mobile, but they are not going to have the design runs that they did with Fields, nor will they be as effective at it. And I don't want to forget what I thought was pretty impressive from the Jets in week 1, despite them being terrible in week 2. And Tampa sounds like Ibuka won't play, but Godwin might now. They've got a lot of O-line injuries. And I'm still a believer in the Jets front. Quinn and Williams and those edge guys. And I think Sauce can hang with Evans, especially if the other receivers are banged up. I don't think they win, but I think they can hang around, shorten the game, run the football, and stay within the spread.
This is another one that almost feels too good to be true. Like, the Jets are banged up. They're going on the road.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Tampa will win by a touchdown, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Tampa's another one of those. They win a lot of games, but they win a lot of close one-score games. They don't typically blow people out either. I don't love it. But I'm going to lay the points, though, okay. I think. I'm going to take Tampa minus 6.5. If Justin Fields is healthy, it's a different story. But then again, if Justin Fields is healthy, this is probably more like a 4.5, 3.5 instead of 6.5. If it's in New York, it's a different story for me too. This is the first time they're going on the road with a new coaching staff, and this is a tough one to pick. I don't like this. I would stay away from this.
Yeah, I don't love the game.
But I'll lay the points with Tampa and go minus 6.5. Washington at home, more quarterback concerns as
Daniels is not going to play.
Is not going to play. Yeah. As the Raiders head into town, looking off a terrible performance against the Chargers last week. Washington, even without Daniels, 2.5-point favorites at home against Las Vegas.
They're kind of two teams I was hoping to bet against. Yeah, I said that happens every week where, like, man, I'm not real big on these teams. I'm betting against them next week. And then they play each other, and it's like, They got to get Genty going, but Bowers doesn't look 100%. I guess I'll take the home team minus 2.5. That was actually 3.5 this morning.
Okay.
When it wasn't official yet. And 2.5 makes more sense. When it was 3.5, I did take the Raiders. At 2.5, I'm like,
taking the commies?
Yeah.
I think I'm going to take the Raiders plus 2.5. Pete Carroll, I think he'll have them ready to go. Coming off a really disappointing loss. I'll take the Raiders in the points plus 2.5 on that one.
Maybe Pete Carroll knows how to travel to 1 o'clock games. See Seattle all those years too, right?
That's something I was thinking as well too there, Matt. I do like it. We're on the opposite sides of the equation a lot more this week. I'm digging it. Divisional matchup in the NFC South. The winless Carolina Panthers hosting the Atlanta Falcons. 1 o'clock in Charlotte. One of the bigger spreads of the week here, too, despite being on the road, the Falcons 5.5-point favorites.
This is one of my favorite bets of the week, and it's on Atlanta. I think Carolina might be the worst team in the league.
They might be.
They look really, really bad right now.
And I think Atlanta is on the right upward trajectory.
I 100% agree. Penix has basically won me over. Not that I disliked him, but I'm full on now with him. Bijan's unbelievable. And I think the defense is actually kind of good now. And I haven't said that in 20 years.
I haven't said that in a long time. I'm with you on that. Is that your survivor pool pick of the week? Is that your team?
I forget who I took.
I
did it really early in the week this week.
I'm trying to remember who you took last week.
I took Seattle over New Orleans.
You took last week?
This upcoming week.
This week you took Seattle.
Yeah,
okay.
at home. We didn't get that game yet.
That's funny. That's the same one that I took as well, too. So we'll have the same one.
Probably
this
common,
week.
But
I'm trying to remember because I didn't write down here in my notes.
Atlanta's not a bad call, though, now I think about it.
That was my toss-up, was between Seattle and Atlanta.
Okay. I think Carolina's terrible.
I'm trying to remember who you took last week. I'm drawing a blank, but I took the Bills last week. We're both still alive in that.
I'm alive in all of mine.
Yeah. We'll have to revisit that and get squared away for next week. But we'll both take Seattle for our survivor poll this week.
Yeah.
We'll be in it together.
Yeah.
But Atlanta, if Atlanta was at home against Carolina, that's an easy pick for me. But Seattle's at home against New Orleans. That, I think, is the difference.
I don't think Carolina's a hard place to play either.
No, it's certainly not.
No.
Jacksonville, last of the 1 o'clock slate here, Matt. Jacksonville hosting a surprising 0-2 Houston Texans. And Jacksonville actually a slight favorite, 1.5-point favorite at home. Could Houston start 0-3?
That's why I'm not going to pick the Jags. Just because I think some teams that like Kansas City is not an 0-3 team. To me, Texans are an 0-3 team. You know, like they're gonna figure out a way to win this thing. I think their defense is really, really good. I'll take the Texans to win.
I think so too. You can already see the Houston "we have a problem" headlines if they fall to 0-3. And I know Jacksonville's coming off a very frustrating loss in Cincinnati too, one that they felt they let get away. But I do not see Houston falling to 0-3. I think they have the defense. I think they have the weapons on offense to get it done on the road. And another not very difficult place to play in Jacksonville.
100%.
I'll take Houston plus 1.5 there. Into the 4 o'clock games. A big one in the AFC West early on. The Chargers looking to go 3-0, and all three of those in the division, which would be massive. The 1-1 Broncos looking to kind of, stay in lockstep and stay ahead of the Chiefs with the Chargers at SoFi Stadium in L.A. The Chargers 2.5-point favorites.
And I would think there'll be plenty of Denver fans there and all that, and I do think their defense is challenging. I'm pretty much on board with the Chargers, though. I had some doubts in the offseason that a lot of they could have done more in terms of talent acquisition, blah, blah, blah. But they got it pretty figured out, and Herbert's playing MVP-like football right now. I'm going to take the Chargers.
Chargers are one of the, I think, hardest teams to bet against right now.
Yeah.
With the way they've played through the first 2 weeks. This is one of those, if the number was 3.5 or 4.5, I think I'd take the points for the Broncos.
Yeah. But because of their defense. At
2.5, I'll take the Chargers to win by a field goal. I think that's a good number. I'm going to lean towards the side of L.A.
All right.
Also in the 4 o'clock time slot, who we just saw last week, the biggest spread of the weekend, Matt, well, I guess tied with the Browns, and if you don't include the Thursday Buffalo, Seattle is a 7.5-point favorite over New Orleans. We're both picking them to win for our survivor pool this week, but do they cover?
No, so I don't love that for Survivor. And come to think of it, I mean, it's the first time I've ever done Survivor, and there's like 10 of us in the league, so we made a rule: everybody gets 2 entries.
So it lasts longer.
Yeah, so it lasts longer.
Love that.
So I actually did 1 Packers, 1 Seattle were my 2 eliminators this week. And I had to think through it since I did it much earlier in the week. I don't think New Orleans stinks. Everyone just assumed they would, and Rattler would be terrible. They've been competitive.
They haven't been a pushover.
And Seattle does not have this crazy home field advantage like that people think they do.
That they had 10 years ago.
You're right. I think it's a low-scoring game. I love Seattle's D. I'm not on board with Seattle's offense still, which it's flat out an indictment on how the Steelers' defense played.
Seattle to win, New Orleans to cover. I think that's safe. this is another. If it's -6.5 instead of 7.5.
Yeah, I like where the number sits too.
But I think New Orleans has enough to keep it within a touchdown, and another team that doesn't want to fall to 0-3 and is certainly going to be playing with a sense of urgency and some pride out there at Lumen Field in Seattle. Into the 425 games here as those two start at 4:05. The 425 games, the Bears hosting Dallas. Dallas off an emotional overtime win. Chicago off of 2 frustrating losses back home. Dallas just 1.5-point favorites in Chicago at Soldier Field.
I think Dallas's defense is horrendous. I mean, as bad as they played against the Giants, I think you're going to see that a lot. Start all your fantasy guys in Dallas games because I think Dak's playing phenomenal, and Javonte Williams looks like a find. I expect Pickens' role to grow. I just think the Bears are figuring things out still, especially Caleb Williams. I heard a really good analysis on him, which I think is dead on. He makes a spectacular look easy, but the easy look hard. Yeah. I mean, he doesn't complete enough of the layups, and his mechanics are kind of all over the place.
He's draining threes from the logo, but he's missing layups.
Yeah, exactly. You're right. He's doing trick shots, but I'm going to bet on Dak.
I am with you. I think, listen, say what you want about that Dallas defense, but their offense is going to score a lot of points.
I think so.
And I am not going to put any faith in the Chicago Bears until they give me a reason to put faith into the Chicago Bears.
Right. They could be picking in the top 5 again the way they're going.
They could be in the quarterback market again. I know it's still a little early to say that, but they certainly could be. Last one of the 425 slate. The Niners back home hosting the Cardinals, the 2-0 Arizona Cardinals. San Francisco, despite being banged up, 2.5-point favorites.
I just want points in this game. I think it's going to be very close. I don't know who I'd pick to win, but I don't have to. I'll just take the points.
So you'll take Arizona plus 2.5.
Yeah.
I'm going to go San Francisco minus 2.5. I'm going to lay the points. I think Robert Saleh is just going to make a miserable afternoon for Kyler Murray, and San Francisco will have enough to win by 3 or 4.
Mm-hmm. I think the Saleh comment is dead on. I mean, he's been their saving grace so far.
And I think he's going to be able to mess with Kyler's mind a little bit there at Levi Stadium. Finally, on the Sunday slate, you have got the New York Giants. I think encouraging through 2 games, certainly, but still looking to get their first win after a frustrating overtime loss to Dallas. You've got the Kansas City Chiefs also looking for their first win after a back-to-back 1-score losses to the Chargers in Brazil and then at home against the Eagles last Sunday. One of these teams going to get their first win on Sunday Night Football. Kansas City, a 6.5-point favorite on the road.
Giants D-line's quite good, but the rest of their defense was really fundamentally unsound in that Dallas madness. And starting more and more to question the Giants coaching staff. I think Daboll might be a coordinator, not a head guy. I'm sure that'll be Russell Wilson's best game of the year. And I definitely think Kansas City wins. They're better. They're on national TV. This is not a game they lose to an inferior team. But they don't beat anybody bad, even when they were good.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's a big line.
Like last year, they were 15-2. I think 10 of those wins were 1-score games.
Yeah, and I think they were below 500 against the spread. Everyone just thinks, oh, the Chiefs are great. They're 15-2. They're going to beat everybody bad. They don't beat anybody bad.
Right.
I'm still taking Kansas City, but I don't feel great about it with that number. I wish it was like 3.5.
Yeah, 4.5.
Right. I mean, Kansas City doesn't have firepower right now.
I think I'm going to take the Giants plus 6.5.
I totally understand.
Kansas City to win, certainly.
Yes.
But I just think at home, they'll score some points to the Giants.
Yeah.
I would like this number a lot more if it was 7 or 7.5 for New York.
It's a weird number for this game for me.
It's a weird, but I'm with you. I don't think Kansas City has the horses to blow anybody out this year.
I don't see double-digit wins in their future against anybody.
I am with you, and so I wish it was a touchdown instead of 6.5, but I'll take the G-men and the points at home on Sunday Night Football. That will do it for our Week 3 slate. There is a juicy Monday Night Football game.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be great.
The Lions travel into Baltimore to take on the Ravens, but we'll give our thoughts on that one on Monday, of course, at the end of our next show. But before we get out of here, before we close down things for this week, of course, Steelers, Patriots, 1 o'clock, Gillette Stadium, Foxborough, Massachusetts. Steelers 1.5-point favorites. How do Matt and I think it's going to play out? We'll get to that to close down the show on the other side. Wes Uhler, Matt Williamson, it's The Drive on Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network. Gut check time, crossroads time for your Pittsburgh Steelers in this Week 3 game against the New England Patriots. Matt, before we get to thoughts and picks and predictions, we do have the final Friday injury report for both of these teams coming across the timeline. For the Patriots, it's just as simple as we kind of alluded to earlier. Christian Gonzalez, Jack Westover, and Keon White, all questionable.
Okay.
Everybody else that we talked about yesterday and throughout the week, full practice participant, cleared to go. For the Steelers, it's pretty clear-cut as well, too. You can rule out Joey Porter Jr., Sean Elliott, Alex Highsmith, and, of course, Max Sharping. 3 of those 4 I think we all knew, but Joey Porter Jr. officially out after not practicing this whole week. Good news, Derek Harmon, full practice participant today for the first time,
wow,
and he is listed as questionable.
That sounds like he's going to play.
But he was limited all week, but was a full participant today. The best news, I think, for him in this process.
I think you get him in the mix and see how it looks, and with a pitch count in mind, but maybe you don't need it. You know,
sounds like a plan to me, and
I
hope that's the way it plays out.
That's a nice shot in the arm,
And then he gets that experience and that first kind of go at it, and then hopefully bang, full tilt for Dublin and for the Vikings.
Yeah, and if he couldn't go, I was just sitting there thinking, like, man, 4 of your starters that you were counting on the preseason would be out already on defense.
It has certainly been way more attrition there than you've wanted to see. The good news, again, though, that I keep coming back to is it seems like Deshaun Elliott and Alex Highsmith are not long-term things. Those guys not going on IR, and it's always felt like sooner rather than later for Derek Harmon. Matt, Steelers, Patriots, before we give our predictions and our picks, I like to ask you this. Steelers win if? Steelers lose if?
Line of scrimmage.
I mean, I think it's a pretty easy one this week,
that
right?
way, yeah.
I think it's like I know.
I'll be shocked if the Steeler D line, with or without Harmon, isn't better than the Patriot O line in both phases.
It's like we talked about with Labs yesterday.
I said that was against Seattle.
Like, football is a very complex game.
It is,
but it's also a very simple game.
Yeah.
And this week, I do think it is as simple as you win if you win in the trenches on both sides of the ball. Yeah. You lose if you lose in the trenches on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, the Steelers have talked about it a fair amount this week about the defense, how their alignments have been a little off. Their communications have been a little off. And people are probably like, your alignments. Dude, if you're a linebacker or a D lineman and you're 6 inches to the right or left or whatever,
you're shading the wrong side of the field.
Yeah, when you talk about it being a complex game, it's way more complex than I know, let alone what most people listening know. You sit in a coach's meeting room and let them talk, and it's like, wow. Or spend a lot of time with the quarterback.
It's like you put your foot at a 45-degree angle when it needed to be at a 70-degree
angle.
Right.
What are you doing? You crazy? Right, that kind of thing.
The Aaron Rodgers thing that we always talk about, you broke it 7.5 yards, not 8 yards.
Yeah, I can't have it, right. And that's common knowledge. I mean, that's 101, let alone doctorate level stuff. But you're right. If you don't block and tackle anybody, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
I mean? It just doesn't matter. I've thought about this more and more. And earlier in the week, I had the Steelers winning 23-20. And I'm going to make it even stronger now, 23-17, with like a late touchdown for the Patriots. I think Rodgers and Hayward and all these dudes that have won a lot of Ramsey and have won a lot of games are going to take this a little personal and kind of grab the teammates by the throat. And this is a game we have to win. Business trip. Patriots get a late touchdown to make it look closer than it was. And I'm not saying the Steelers will dominate or all their problems are going away. I hope that's the conversation we're having Monday, but I'm sure there'll be things they still have to work on. But, man, they have so many veterans that have won so many games, and the Patriots just don't.
I'm not too far off from you. 21-17 was the prediction that I have for the Steelers. I don't think that we are sitting here Monday thinking that all of our woes are cured and suddenly, here we go. We're about to rattle off a bunch of wins and become one of the best teams in the AFC.
I wouldn't book reservations for the Super Bowl or anything. Right.
But I think we are feeling much better on this Monday than we have the last couple. And I think we are talking about a Steelers team that found a way to get it done. And I know when you say that, sometimes it insinuates it's going to be ugly. It's going to be like the Jets game.
The Jets game is a perfect example, right? That was finding a way to get it done.
I think it'll be more buttoned up than that. It's one of those things. We all have our dumb things that we say too often as radio hosts when you speak for hours and hours a week.
Right.
I don't think it's going to be a Mona Lisa, Matt. I don't think it's going to be a work of art, but I also don't think it's going to be like you were so fortunate to get out of there with a win.
I think there'll be progress.
It'll be a B+ performance. Progress
against a C- team.
Much better than last week.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, can we really put it together in Dublin? Can we really, get to October feeling substantially better?
Yeah, I'm expecting, they averaged 4.1 yards per carry again. Okay. Hit a couple big plays over the top.
Win the sack differential. Win the explosive play differential.
Rodgers made some throws and didn't make any big mistakes. And, the D-line wasn't going backwards all game. And Watt gets 2 sacks. I
want to see 3 or 4 sacks of Drake May. That's something we spent a ton of time talking about in the offseason. It hasn't been good enough through 2 games.
Yeah.
Go get after this offensive line that has plenty of opportunity to do so.
Yeah, and I don't feel super confident about my prediction, but
no, I don't either.
Monday could be a long day, and I hate thinking that way, but
same.
I could write a story for you that'd be very believable. That this isn't so good, but I'm going the opposite direction.
I am too. The Steelers have their concerns. The Steelers have their issues, but I think New England has more concerns and more issues, and I think that will play out. As you mentioned, too, the veterans, the experience, the pride, the future Hall of Famers that the Steelers have, kind of grabbing the rest of the team by the scruff and dragging them to a victory at Foxborough Stadium.
Yeah, I just think there's too much leadership and been around the blockness. Rodgers, Ramsey, Hayward, Watt.
Hopefully that shines through Sunday at 1:00. Matt, good stuff this week, man.
Yeah.
We'll look forward to hearing you on the pregame on Sunday. A big thank you to Missy Matthews for joining us today.
Wednesday was a tough one. Just want to not forget about that, too.
No doubt.
Yeah.
We'll continue, I think, we'll feel that for the rest of this season, for the rest of this year, for the rest of forever. But thanks to everybody for helping us get through it.
Yeah,
certainly.
Yeah. Again, Steeler Nation stepped up big for us.
You guys are awesome, and I know Dale's. I don't know if it was Amy or one of his sons, but they actually took to his Twitter account. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh, no.
To thank everybody for the outpouring of support as well too. So
okay.
I know the Lawley family has felt that, and it hasn't gone unnoticed.
And I don't think she'd mind, but Amy was texting my wife and said she was going back and watching old drives when Dale and I were in our prime. Just to kind of remember him.
The happy
when
days,
he was rolling along. Yeah.
We will continue to do that. We will continue to remember our brother for all the happy times and for all the good days and for all that he did to build up this show and this network and just football conversation amongst Steeler Nation and in Western Pennsylvania in general. We love you, Dale, and we'll never stop doing this for you, man. But that will do it for us this week. For our video producer, Mr. TV, a big thank you to Missy Matthews and to Matt Williamson. I'm Wes Uhler. Take care, everybody. We'll talk to you next week. Enjoy the game on Sunday. As always, you know where to find us. It's on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. It's Steelers Nation Radio on the Steelers Audio Network.